Hello, yes, today is Monday, October 21, 2024. I'm here to share my thoughts and opinions on the US presidential elections 2024. Today, I'm going to look at the early voting data on the battleground state of North Carolina. I have looked at Georgia and Pennsylvania last week, and I'm going to look at them again in the next 3 or 4 days. But I would like to look at North Carolina today, given the fact that the early voting started in the state of North Carolina sometime last week. So without any delay, let me just go straight into the presentation. And there we go. So we're just going to look at the early voting and absentee voting data for the state of North Carolina. Before I begin, I would like to say the source of this, just like the state of Georgia and Pennsylvania, the source for this is from the website of the particular state, in this case, North Carolina state, and they are publishing these numbers on a daily basis. So this data is as of this morning. It includes the data up to Sunday evening time. So the ballots cast through 10:20 is what these data represent. So the total ballots cast is 1,031,210 ballots as of now, as of yesterday evening. The total eligible voters in North Carolina is 7,787,988. So as of yesterday or this morning, we have a turnout of 13.24% in the state of North Carolina. That's a very good turnout in the first few days of early voting. Then among those early voters, 939,123 voters are in person, 70,162 were civilian by mail, and 2,700 odd is military by mail, and then there were like 11,216 ballots that were overseas ballots. Then let's look at the registration by party in the state of North Carolina. We have a total of 7,787,000 eligible voters, out of which 2.4 million odd voters are registered Democrats, 2.3 million odd voters are registered Republicans, and 2.9 odd voters are unaffiliated, or you can call them independents as well. The rest of them are like libertarians and Green Party and other fringe elements, which they do not even have 1%. So the two main classification are Democrats, Republicans, and Independents. And Democrats are like around 31% of the electorate that are registered Democrats, and there are 29% of registered Republicans in the state of North Carolina and around 37% of independents in the state of North Carolina. Now, given this, let's look at how the early voting has happened by party. So the Democratic registered voters have come out, and the total number is 364,456. That's basically 14.96% of their 2.4 million are registered Democratic voters. And then there is a proportion column here, which says there are 35.34%. That's basically the proportion in terms of the total ballots cast. So 364,456 is basically 35.34% of 1,031,210. So that's what this proportion column means. So right now, Democrats constitute 35.34% of the early ballots cast electorate, and Republicans are 33.16% of the early votes cast, and then the independents are 31.02%. As I mentioned, the other parties are not going to make a significant difference, even though you see a Libertarian Party picking close to 3,000 votes, and the No Labels Party getting 1,500 odd votes here. The Green Party has gotten only 285 votes here. So nevertheless, if you look at this proportion, Democrats will be looking at this to say, okay, fine, 35% of the electorate is, at least the early voting electorate is registered Democrats. They should be reasonably happy about that. And the Republicans also should be reasonably happy in the sense that they are very close to that mark. They constitute 33%. And if you really look at it, the registered Republicans are actually only 29% of the total registered voters. If they are beating this number, that's really good for them as well. So both Democrats and Republicans are beating that number, their numbers. So it must be good for both parties from this particular data analysis. If you look at it from just pure party affiliation. And the independents are 37% of the registered voters, but they are just 31% of the electorate in terms of the early ballots cast as of now. But this could change in the next few days. But nevertheless, this looks like a healthy turnout so far in the state of North Carolina. Then let's go into the next slide. So if you look at the next slide, you have registration by race. So North Carolina provides these details based on race. So in terms of registered voters, there are like 4.9 million voters who are registered, who are actually white voters as per their classification on the voter registration form. And there are close to 1.5 million voters who have identified themselves as Black, and around 1.2 million and they have identified as other, or this probably includes Asians and other groups as well. And so by race, they have an electorate in terms of registered voters. It's like 63% white voters, 19.69% of Black voters, and 16% others. Then you look at this category and see how they have voted. So if you look at white voters, they have come out in very good number. If you look at it, their proportion is 70% of this 1,031,210. That's very healthy sign when their proportion is actually only 63% of the total electorate by registration. So they're beating that number. That's very good. And in terms of Black voters, there are like 191,601 voters who have voted as of now. And that constitute 18.58% of this early voting electorate. That's slightly less than 19.69% when it comes to the total registered voters composition in the state of North Carolina. So Democrats would be looking at this number to see if this increases in the next couple of days, because the Black voters tend to vote Democratic. Then the other category, they constitute 16.43% of the registered voters, but they have come out in a smaller number. They have only 10.88% of the electorate as of now, based on the early voting data. Then there is also ethnicity here. Registration by ethnicity, if you look at it, a Hispanic or Latino is around 4.414%. Not Hispanic or not Latino is close to 5.1 million, that's 66%. And undesignated is close to 29.71%. So let's look at this category and how they have voted. Hispanic or Latino have voted, they have come out 7.12% of this 322,000 have come out and voted. But the proportion, if you look at it, it's lower. It's only 2.23% of the 1 million. So they're not even hitting that 4% of the registered voters total that they have in terms of Hispanic voters in the state of North Carolina. And not Hispanic and not Latino, they're doing better in terms of proportion. They constitute 72.14% of the 1,031,000 odd votes. And undesignated is 25.63%, which is not that bad. When you look at this column here, they are only 29.71% of the total registered voters electorate in North Carolina. Then they also provide registration by gender. So the females constitute 49.28% of the electorate. Male is like 42% of the electorate, and undesignated is 8.72%. And if you look at that early voting trend in terms of gender, female constituted 51.57% of the electorate that have voted already. And they're also 13.86% of the 3.83 million. So they have almost 13.86% of the registered voters have come out and voted already. Similarly, 13.48% of the male voters have come and voted already. Their proportion, male voters proportion, is 42.75% of this 1,031,000 odd votes. So this is the number that's very consistent across all the 3 states that I have analyzed. Women voters are coming out in much larger number, whether it is Pennsylvania, whether it is Georgia, and now this is a 3rd state that we are looking at, and there is close to around 9.7% of difference between male and female voters, and the female voters are coming out in larger numbers. So if you look at it, and from a democratic strategy perspective, or the democratic strategists or operatives looking at that, they will be kind of happy with this number to say that, we are hitting above 50 in all these states in terms of female voters coming out and voting early. And that would mean that if there is a significant gender gap, then Democrats will be fairly comfortable or fairly confident that they can win the state of North Carolina. Again, these are early days, but nevertheless, in all the 3 states, it looks like the women voters are coming out in larger number. So let me go to the next slide. This is the total number. This is the top 10 counties in terms of total number of early votes that has been cast so far. And then within that, I have tried to mark the ones that the Democrats won last time in blue color, and the ones that the Republicans won last time in red color. So if you look at the top 10, the top 6 counties in terms of the total early votes cast are won by the Democrats. Let's look at, for instance, Wake. In Wake County, there are a total of 111,339 votes cast so far. The 2020 winner was Joe Biden, and the 2020 total votes cast in that particular county was 631,830. So out of the 631,830, we already have 111,000 votes cast already. And the 2020 margin for Joe Biden was, this is the margin was 167,139. So this was a huge margin. On a 631,000 vote total, he was able to win by 167,000. That's a huge margin in the Wake County. And since the number of people coming out in North Carolina, majority or most of them, the topmost county is Wake County, that should bode well for the Democrats at this point. Then Mecklenburg, again, there were a total of 101,000 votes cast as of yesterday. The winner again was Biden, and last time, and the total 2020 total number of votes cast were 567,000. So if you look at this again, close to 18% of the votes have already been cast in the Mecklenburg County. And look at this margin. Out of 567,000 votes that were polled in 2020, Biden won them by 198,000 odd votes. So that's a big, healthy margin that he had in Mecklenburg County. Then you look at Guilford. The total number of votes cast is 50,000 odd. Again, this is a county that Biden won. The total number of votes during that election was 284, and he won that by around 65,000 votes. Again, if you look at it, this is again a lot of people out of 284. You have, again, I think close to around 18% or have already voted. Then look at Durham. Durham County, 42,000 people have voted so far. The vote total votes cast during that 2020 election was 179,000. Biden won by a margin of 112,000 votes. So look at that. Out of 179,000 votes cast, he won by a margin of 112,000. So the Democrats would like to get this number higher, but still this is pretty good, if you ask me. Out of the 179,000 odd voters who voted last time, 42,000 have already come. This tells me that in North Carolina, the the voting percentage will increase. The number of voters are going to increase. I think we are going to have a much better turnout this time. Then look at Forsyth. Again, similar numbers, but Biden did not win here by a margin as big as the one in Durham. But nevertheless, again, this is a decent margin on a vote tally of 201,270 votes. Then Buckham, again, it's 27,000 odd voters have voted out of the 161. Biden won this county by 36,000 odd votes. Then the seventh one on the list, the seventh county in terms of total votes polled, is Union County. This was won by Trump, and there are 26,854 voters who have cast early ballots now. And the 2020 total, Trump won this, and the 2020 vote tally total was 131,000 odd votes, and Trump won by a very good margin of 31,657. Out of 131,000 votes, he won by 31,647 votes. That's a very, very good margin. So the Republicans would be happy that people from Union County are coming there and casting their ballots early. Then Cumberland, again, this is a county won by Joe Biden, and he won by a good margin out of 147,150 votes that were polled in 2020. Not a great margin, but still a decent margin for him to have won this county. Then Johnston, this is a Republican county in 2020. Again, Trump won by a good, healthy margin of 27,000 out of the 111,000 votes that were cast. 24,000 of the people from that county had voted already, then that must be really, really a good sign for Trump as well. Then Brunswick, again, similar numbers, 22,000 people have voted. The total number of votes in 2020 was 90,000 odd. He had a very good margin of 22,540. So the three counties that the Republicans had won in 2020 are Union, Johnston, and Brunswick, and they must be happy with the numbers that they are seeing on those counties as of now. But Democrats would be reasonably happy that they're doing very well in the counties that they won, and also the counties where there is a large number of population. For instance, Wake County, Mecklenburg County, Guilford, and Forsyth. And so these are the counties that has got large number of population. So this looks good from the Democrats' perspective, and coupled with the fact that if you look at it, they have a good gender gap, and there is a 9 percentage point difference between the female voters who are cast ballots early and the male voters. I think Democrats will be reasonably happy at this juncture. But still, these are early days. We still have several days to go for early voting. But there are some good news for the Democrats, but Republicans traditionally will come out and vote in large numbers on election day as well. And also, you should look at this. There are like 7.7 million registered voters, and only 1 million of them have voted. Even if you think that around 6.8 million voters are going to vote this time, we still have close to around 5.5 million voters who are likely to come out and vote. So early days, but still a couple of numbers that are looking good for the Democrats. One is the female votes, and then the county-wise breakup is presently looking good for the Democrats. So that's pretty much the story in North Carolina in terms of early voting. But as I mentioned before, these are early days. There are still more votes to come in this week. So we will do more detailed analysis of each county and see how it has performed in the early voting in the next 3-4 days. So we have looked at 3 states so far. The state of Georgia, I personally felt like Democrats are not performing as well in terms of early voting. And then the state of Pennsylvania, I believe that they are doing pretty good in state of Pennsylvania. In Georgia, Republicans are doing good. In Pennsylvania, Democrats are doing good. And in North Carolina, on the face of it, it looks like Democrats are looking good. But we need to go and look at this data again this week to confirm whether that trend holds. So that's the bottom line. And also, if you look at some of the polls that have come out over the weekend, especially from Washington Post, they are just reiterating the same thing. Arizona looks like a lock, more or less a lock for Donald Trump. And they are saying that Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, Kamala Harris has a slight lead. And Georgia as well is what they're saying. And North Carolina, they think Trump has a slight lead. So if you look at it, the path for victory for Kamala Harris is Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and possibly pick up Georgia or North Carolina. The path for victory for Donald Trump is always going to be Arizona, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and then pick up either one of Georgia or North Carolina. So that's how it looks right now. I'll come back to you with a different episode tomorrow. Till then, take care.